Here is the video for drawing a self-portrait. So as you can see, I printed off a picture of myself and I divided it into sections. There's a couple different ways that you can divide up your picture plane. Sometimes I just do like a plus sign down the middle, and then you take the corners and do diagonals, so it would add a diamond. But this one is divided into 2-inch blocks. So to make the measuring easier for me, I'm going to line this up with my paper and trace the edges. So I'm just tracing the paper. That way I don't have to do so much math in my head. But remember, you would want to extend the composition out to the sides. For example, my sweater cuts off here, but I would continue it later and just take it off to the sides. That way my paper the entire piece of paper is being used. So I'm going to trace this out. I'm going to put in my 2-inch by 2-inch blocks, the extra paper that I have. Like I have 1-inch markings right here. I'm going to put all that in, and then I'm going to very lightly identify where some of the edges are of my face, where my nose lines up. If you think about it, turn it sideways. Remember, we talked about the head. So from top to bottom, about that halfway point is your eye line. So that's really what I'm looking for, is to make sure these proportions are lined up correctly, and just kind of mark them before I spend all that time putting the details. You'll also notice with my picture, I have a light source coming from the left side. That's going to give you more dimension in your face, so I can see the cast shadows, the midtones, and then the highlights for shading. So now that I have my paper divided into a grid, I'm going to be using my picture here to identify where the edges of my facial features are. For example, so not the first block, but the second block at the top, I have a little bit of my hair there. So it's important to kind of look at proportions. This is about halfway in that block, so I know about halfway here is where my head is going to start, and then a little bit more than halfway this way is probably where it needs to end. So I'm just going to kind of work that way with each block. Remember, I'm not putting in every single detail. I'm just going to mark like the widths of the eyes, how far they go. Once I know that I have everything in place, then I'm going to start putting details in there, because the last thing you want to do is spend all this time drawing like the perfect nose or the perfect eye, and you're really excited about it, only to find out it's in the wrong place. So I'm going to map everything out, and then I'm going to start applying my shading, and that's how I'm going to get these edges, is through shading with the different pencils. Remember to draw lightly as far as your grid and your sketched lines, because you're going to want to erase some of them later before you start adding all the shading in.